Hello and welcome to Palm Springs Stadium. I'm Bobby Ward, recapping today, February 14th, thrilling California Winter League semifinal playoff action. The first game was a thriller between the Midwest Haymakers and the Toronto Rush. Both teams displayed superb pitching and defense, highlighted by a beautiful catch by Toronto Rush center fielder Alex Johnson that robbed Haymaker first baseman Daniel Oliver of a hit with the bases loaded. The Rush then took a 3-2 lead heading into the bottom of the seventh inning when Haymaker center fielder Joe Fiorino came up with a runner at third and 2 outs and squeezed a single through the right field gap that tied the game. The two teams then went to extra innings and would trade runs back and forth until the Haymakers came up in the bottom of the 10th inning in a 5-5 game. With runners at second and third, Manny Estrada came up to bat and smashed a walk-off single to send the Midwest Haymakers to the championship game with a 6-5 win. The second game of the semifinals featured another exciting game between the Canada A's and the Coachella Valley Snowbirds, with the winner facing off against the Midwest Haymakers in the championship game. The Snowbirds jumped out to an early 3-0 lead in the first inning, capped off by an RBI double by Snowbirds first baseman Manny Cardero. The Snowbirds got solid pitching from starter Charlie Glenn and reliever Greg Dubella as they had a 4-1 lead going into the bottom of the sixth inning. However, the A's would not go away easily as they put together 3 runs on 4 hits to tie the game at 4. The score would remain tied heading into the bottom of the 7th and final inning when A's catcher Larry Balkwell came up to bat with the bases loaded, and he belted a walk-off single to give the A's a 5-4 win that would send them to the championship game to face off against the Midwest Haymakers on Sunday. Pitch to Estrada is a line drive, base hit into center field, and it's a walk-off win for the Midwest Haymakers, and they are heading to the California Winter League championship game, and the team empties the benches and mobs Manny Estrada on the field. And what a game, Jesse Hardiker, we just had in the bottom of the 10th inning. The Midwest Haymakers finally finish off this game with a 6-5 win and a walk-off base hit by Manny Estrada. The warm-ups are done for Josh Graves in the infield, and Jimmy Tops, the leadoff hitter, digs in for the Palm Springs Chill as he awaits the first pitch from Graves. And he swings at the first pitch. It's a fastball and fouls it back out of play for an 0-1 count, and that's how this game gets started. Tops on the season, coming into the game, on his regular season numbers, hitting .226 on the season, 7 hits and 31 at-bats, and just 3 RBIs. And the 0-1 pitch to him, swinging a little looper down the left field line, going over as the left fielder Olsen, and he will watch it bounce foul and out of play. So it's a quick 0-2 count now to Tops.
Well, Bobby, you said right before first pitch, this is a game of inches, and Jimmy Tops was about 4 inches away right there from having a leadoff double for the Chill.
That was very close to being fair, and Tops, with some solid speed, is the left fielder for this team, so we'll keep an eye on that. But down in the count to Josh Graves, 0-2, who is pitching out of this, which is probably the most comfortable position he is. In the 0-2 pitch to Tops, swung on and flared into left field. In comes the left fielder Olsen. He shades his eyes from the sun and makes the catch in medium shallow left field for the first out of the ball game.
Tops had a good fighting swing on that attempt, but it's got a little bit underneath it and it just sailed out there to left field.
So that's going to bring up the second baseman Ryomo Watanabe, who was my X factor coming into this game. He's hitting .379, 11 hits and 29 at-bats, 3 RBIs, and 3 for 5 on stolen bases. As the first pitch to him, he shows bunt and pulls back and takes down low for a ball, 1-0. And Watanabe, not a very big guy, only 5'6", 150 pounds, so a small strike zone for Graves right now. 1-0 pitch is a fastball on the outside corner for a strike to even the count at 1-1.
Compare that to the height of Josh Graves, who's on the mound at 6'10".
So definitely small versus tall right now. The 1-1 pitch. Watanabe shows bunt and pulls back and takes a fastball high for a ball. 2-1 the count now. Just getting underway here at Palm Springs Stadium. Still 0-0, top of the first inning. 1 out, nobody on for the Chill at bat right now. 2-1 pitch is a fastball right down the middle for a strike to even the count at 2-2. And a nice fastball right there from Graves. Graves comes set at the belt. A 2-2 pitch to Watanabe is swung on and fouled back to the screen. And we'll do the 2-2 again.
Josh Graves early on doing a nice job of finding the strike zone. Just has to make sure he doesn't catch too much of it and put too many batted balls in play.
The Snowbirds defense, one of the shakier defenses in the California Winter League, as the 2-2 pitch to Watanabe is swung on and grounded back up the middle. The shortstop Kukovic goes over. He fields it, throws first, but it can't. Cardero, and it'll be a one-out error for Watanabe, and that's how the first base runner for the Chill gets on. Well, with that, we're going to set the defense for you for the Snowbirds. Out in the outfield from left to right, it'll be Michael Olson, Kenny Kirshner, and Ethan Zabo in the outfield. Around the horn from third to first, it's Keita Hiroshi, Nick Kukovic, who just had the throwing error right there, Jamal Kennard at second, and Manny Cardero at first. And behind the plate, Hunter Ryan doing the catching for Josh Graves for the Coachella Valley Snowbirds. That's going to bring up Kyosuke Yamada, the shortstop, as Graves throws over to first to check on Watanabe, and he dives back safely. Yamada coming into the season hitting .345, 10 hits and 29 at-bats, 11 RBIs, which is tied second on this Chill team. So he hits with a man aboard and 1 out. Still a 0-0 game here in the top of the first. In the first pitch, Yamada is grounded towards the shortstop, Kukovic. He fields it, throws to second for 1. Kennard back to first, not in time, but they get the out at second for the second out of the inning.
Kukovic making up for that error he just had. Charged in on it, made a strong throw over second. Kennard tried making the turn down to first, but the speed of Yamada just a little too much as he legged it out on that fielder's choice.
So now 2 outs in the inning, and that's going to bring up Ryo Ishikawa, the catcher, to hit with Yamada at first base, and 2 outs in the inning, still 0-0. Ishikawa coming into the season has had a nice season so far, hitting .320 in the regular season, as he swings at the first pitch and grounds one to the second baseman, Kennard, who flips to the shortstop, Kukovic, who steps on the second base bag for the final out of the inning. So, 1 error, a fielder's choice, and that is how the top of the first inning ends. Still 0-0 here from Palm Springs Stadium. You're listening to California Winter League Baseball on Team 1010 KXPS. Welcome back to the Power Hour. I'm Bobby Ward alongside Pat Mullen and Spencer Smith, recapping this 2015 California Winter League season. And right now we're looking at all the players that were signed this year. That's why we have the Winter League. That's why the players come out. So let's take a look at it right now. The first thing that jumps off, the Major League Baseball signees. Guys, those are obviously really exciting, and we had the big one coming. We've mentioned him throughout the year in Austin Delmont getting signed to the minor league deal for the Texas Rangers. And we also had some spring training invites for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And looking at some of these guys, we've talked about them already today on the show and in past shows. Brandon Tierney, Larry Balkwill, Jalen Harris, Mark Podless, all getting invites to work out with the Arizona Diamondbacks in their spring training. And that's awesome, quite frankly. What an exciting time for those guys.
Yeah, 3 of the 5 were in the championship game. Obviously, Austin Delmont, he's on the ace. He didn't have to pitch in the championship, as Drew Bradshaw, who I'm sure we'll talk a little more about, dominating with complete game shutout. So they didn't need their closer, so to speak, in it. But Larry Balkwill, their catcher, he had a big at-bat in the semifinal game, and then another solid day at the plate in the championship. He had the walk-off RBI in the semifinal. So he was one of the better catchers, probably the best catcher overall, I think, that was in the California Winter League. Defensively, his pop time throw down to second, his bat definitely. So Balkwill, very solid. Brandon Tierney, you just said, was your MVP. He's going, and I think that was really what he did from the Haymakers on. He got picked up by the Haymakers. They were in need of a third baseman, and he was just lights out for them both offensively, defensively. He's an SEC guy, went to Texas A&M, so they played good ball down there, and he showed that he still had that talent. The other 2 actually were on the Grizzly, and the Grizzly were not as talented of a team overall, or at least in their record-wise. They're about 500, and they got knocked out the first round in the 7-10 matchup. But Pilus is very skilled, and so is Jalen Harris. Harris was always a guy who stood out to me from the beginning. I think Pilus had more of a second half in like the last 8 games where he kind of turned it on.
Yeah, Harris is one guy who especially stood out to me defensively. I mean, he was making plays to both sides, up the middle, behind the bag at second, short on the outfield grass, making throws on the run, and also deep in the hole at short, and just making some dazzling defensive plays. He was getting to balls that most other shortstops in the league were not getting to, and he did have a few errors that kind of reflect that. They're reflective of his range, reflective of him covering more ground and getting to more balls in the first place than other guys otherwise would. So he made some nice plays, and I also liked his arm strength to go along with that. I don't think he's a guy who will have to get bumped from shortstop to second base, at least in my opinion. He's a guy that could very well stick it short.
And he was in the Brewers organization at one point at a younger age, so he's still young. I think he's only 23 or 24, but he was there before, and he's trying to get back there.
And how about the versatility among the players, just looking at it right now, Austin Delmont, the pitcher, to the Texas Rangers. Mark Podlos, the outfielder, to the Diamondbacks. Jalen Harris, the shortstop, to the Diamondbacks. Larry Balkwell, the catcher, to the Diamondbacks. And Brandon Tierney, the infielder, third baseman, as well, to the Diamondbacks. So we kind of got them covered across the board right there at all positions, which is really cool. Then the rest of the signees, a majority of them being to independent baseball leagues, we had 72 total signees, 42 of them coming from the Frontier League, the official partner for the California Winter League. And looking at them right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different teams signing players from the California Winter League. That's why they all come out here right here. This is the bulk of them, and how incredibly exciting. A lot of them got to play on teams here in the California Winter League. Now they'll be seeing each other in independent pro leagues. And any names looking at these right now, these players here for the independent leagues, guys, that jump off the list to you?
Well, it's interesting. The very first one was Reggie Lawson. I think even before we actually started playing games, he was signed by his own California Winter League coach, Dan Roan, to the Traverse City Beach Bums. Beach Bums, I ended up only getting 2 guys. It was him and JT Mickelson, his own teammate. And something I noticed when I started looking through this is a lot of these teams, more so from the Frontier League, they kind of pick guys that were on the same teams. I don't know if they just were able to scout those individual teams more, or they just liked where they had. So a team like the Windy City Thunderbolts, like a guy like Larry Balkwell, they are already signed to a Frontier League contract, but they get that major league tryout. So if it works out for them in the major leagues, congrats, kudos to them. They'll go there. But if not, they still have a spot in the Frontier League. So Balkwell, Dietrich, Drew Bradshaw, and Cameron Giannini all going to the Thunderbolts, all Canada A's. And Justin Martinez did go to the A's at the end of the regular season or playoffs too, and he's also going there.
And I want to highlight a couple of Lake Erie Crushers guys right now. First and foremost, Tyler Marshburn, a guy who stood out to me personally as a pitcher and third baseman for the Alberta Grizzly. But put in some good outings on the hill, also made some good plays at third, and brought a good bat to the table. I mean, he was a good left-handed hitter that was a presence in the order, at the bottom of the order for the most part, for the Grizzly. And as I mentioned, that's really top of the line when it comes to marketability, so to speak, for a lot of these players. I mean, you have the choice as a coach to either bill him as a position player or a pitcher. And in rare cases, you can have him be both. One day he's pitching, then another day he finds himself in the field, but that gives coaches some options there. And then also right behind him, Josh Kennedy, the hot-hitting shortstop whose bat was really on fire all season for the Palm Springs Power, and then Steph Neely, the big bopper for the Toronto Rush, on a team that really didn't have a whole lot of offensive output. Those are some guys that really stand out. And then, of course, one of our favorite pitchers in the league, Greg Dubella, who also pitched with the Grizzly for the longest time and then joining the Snowbirds down the stretch. He's also with the Lake Erie Crushers. So some really impressive names, and that's just focusing in on one team right there. We got a whole long list of them, 42 in all, like you mentioned, Bobby, in the Frontier League.
Yeah, and just a quick breakdown of what it really looks like. The Evansville Otters signing 2 players. The Florence Freedom signing 2 players. The Frontier Grays signing 5 players. The Gateway Grizzlies signing 2 players. The Joliet Slammers. I like that name.
Joliet.
Joliet.
You non-Midwestern.
I'm sorry. You're in my state right now,
Yeah,
so
I
you
know,
got
I
it. But that's why I have you.
I
here,
get
so
yelled
you
at by
can-
Spencer and you guys every time I say every street in the area because I say everything wrong around here. So.
That's why I keep you on here though, so you can correct me. They signed 2 players. The Lake Erie Crushers, as we just mentioned, they signed 5 players. The Normal Corn Belters, love that name as well. They signed 2 players. River City Rascals signing 2 players. Rockford Aviators signing 3 players. The Schaumburg Boomers. These names are sweet, man.
Yeah, they're legit.
They signed 5 players. Southern Illinois Miners, they signed 2 players. Traverse City Beach Bums, as we mentioned, Dan
That's my
Roan's
favorite
team.
one.
Yeah, that's up by you, of course.
Cool name, though, mainly.
The Beach Bums, yeah, no doubt. Dan Roan's team, as we mentioned, JT Mickelson and Reggie Lawson, they signed 2 players. Washington Wild Things, they signed 4 players. And the Windy City Thunderbolts, closing it out, they signed 5 players. So that's how it looks like for the Frontier League. We also had some other league signings. The Atlantic lead, Tim Quinn, Joe Fiorino, they go to the Bridgeport Bluefish. So really exciting for them. The American Association, they have 3 teams in here. The Grand Prairie Air Hogs, the Amarillo Thunderheads, and the Joplin Blasters. Those are the 3 teams that signed teams there. The Pacific Association with the San Rafael Pacifics and the Sonoma Stompers, they sign a grand total of, 10 players, it looks like? No, 7 players. And the Mount Rainier Professional Baseball League, they have 1 team, the Oregon City Mud Turtles, signing.
They went ham.
They did go. They went real in on the players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players for the Oregon City Mud Turtles. So we had really, outside of the Frontier League, which took the bulk of the players, but there's other leagues as well that really got in on the action and signing a lot of players. And how cool is that? I mean, honestly, really, you think of independent baseball, it might not catch the headlines of baseball, but there's so much that goes into it, so many leagues, and look at all the players that now have some baseball careers to look forward to for at least the next season or two for them. So I think that's really awesome. And, yeah, you guys have any input on that?
Yeah, as you said, Bobby, they may not catch the headlines. They may not look juicy in the newspaper or online, wherever you're looking at the articles, but they're opportunities. They present opportunities for guys who, may not be of the upper echelon type that might be in with the top prospects on MLB or Baseball America on those big important lists, but they present opportunities, and they're inroads for these guys to work their way up to hopefully the big show. But a lot of them will work their way up, and regardless of what the highest level is they reach, they just get to keep living out their dreams all throughout the country. And it's good to see a lot of these guys getting that opportunity through the California Winter League. And I'm romanticizing again, but making dreams come true for guys.
Yeah, it's something to realize. It's not like, not that there were, you don't want to say anyone was a scrub in the league or anything like that, but these are like talented players. I mean,
they're very talented.
You have guys going to the Pacific Association, and maybe it's not the Frontier League or draft signs. Kyle Pisano, he was one of the best bullpen arms in the league, and maybe people didn't give him the credit going in because he's not a super tall guy. He didn't have a crazy strong arm. He probably threw upper 80s, maybe hit 90 once or twice, but his ERA was sub-2, and he was solid all throughout. You have Richard Mejia, one of the better bats that they had in the power lineup. Jalen Harris, if he doesn't end up signing with the Diamondbacks or going to spring training after his tryout, he's going to the Pacific Association. Chris Cruz, one of the better players on the Snowbirds. A couple of the Japanese player, Ryosuke Kikusawa and Yuki Yasuda, who was on the A's, won the championship. So these leagues have a lot of talent. Manny Cardero's going to the Mount Rainier Professional Baseball League. He was one of the best power hitters. He was probably the best power hitter in all of CWL. So all these leagues have a lot of talent going to it, along with the American Association, and one I just know this one, and they actually have the player coach going there, and Gabe Suarez.
Absolutely. So opportunities across the board. And really, as you mentioned it, Spencer, you didn't mean to romanticize it, but quite frankly, I think it is something worth noting that when we talk to these guys and we go through all their player videos, we talk to them in and out of the dugouts and all that, they say we just really want to keep pursuing our dream of playing this beautiful game that we have. And I think that's just the number one thing you really got to take away from all this outside of the contracts and the teams and everything, is that these guys just to keep living out their dream of playing this game, and we get the pleasure of just watching and talking about it.
It also shows how difficult of a sport all sports are, but specifically baseball is, to make it to, the biggest dream of them all, the major leagues, because not only are there single A, both low and high, double A, triple A, rookie ball, you have all these type of leagues too. And we saw a lot of these guys are very talented, good baseball players, and they're still trying to crack that major league, whether it's minor league or obviously the majors level. So it really shows how tough a game it is, how many are competing to have the exact same spot, and what an honor it is to actually be playing at that higher level.
And this isn't to say that this is the end for them either. This
No.
is just another step in the road, another journey for them, because they still have a lot of them are still very young players. They still have a lot of baseball ahead of them. So I think this is really just another transitional period, another learning experience for them. And if you'll talk to them about it, that's exactly what they'll tell you. So we're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to, I don't mean to get all sentimental, but we're going to say our goodbyes, our farewells, our thank yous to everyone, recapping what it was like for us as broadcasters, as baseball fans, as spectators to watch the California Winter League. We're going to hand out some thank yous, as we mentioned. So listen for that as the final segment here on the Power Hour. You're listening to... From Palm Springs Stadium, I'm Bobby Ward.